I remember it like a slow motion wound, the way the words drifted across the table and lodged themselves in my chest. We were gathered in Grandma's dining room, the one with the floral wallpaper peeling in the corners and the chandelier that cast a yellow halo over the table. My parents had insisted on hosting a family celebration now that I'd finally graduated from grad school. My sister Mara gleefully clinked her wine glass against Dad's, her eyes dancing with excitement. I smiled politely, unaware that my life was about to fracture in front of all of them. Dad cleared his throat, carving roast beef with that precise, practiced motion he always used when he wanted everyone's attention. "Before we dig in," he said, placing the knife down, "your mother and I have an announcement." Mom sat straighter, smoothing her pearls. Mara beamed, leaning forward. My pulse quickened. Announcements at family dinners were never good. "Lauren," Dad said, using my childhood nickname in front of everyone. "We've decided to transfer the deed of your apartment to your sister." Silence dropped like a guillotine's blade. "You've worked hard and deserve to move on," Dad continued, "and Mara needs a place closer to the city for her new job." I sat frozen. Mara's new job, marketing director at some glossy startup, bragging at brunches about after-work cocktails and Uber Eats. My apartment, a cozy one-bedroom in the suburbs, had been my sanctuary, the place I'd painted the walls sea foam green, held my first housewarming party, and watched a broken engagement dissolve on the living room floor. "My apartment," I croaked. My voice sounded alien in my ears. The other forks scraped their plates. Mom's smile faltered. Mara's grin widened, but her eyes flicked to the ground. I tried to speak, but my tongue felt like cotton. "That's not your decision," I managed. Mom's hand waved dismissively. "Consider it a gift, darling. We thought it time you downsized, or moved somewhere new. You've been here almost 3 years. 3 years of rent I paid," I said, voice stronger now. "You never offered to cover that." Dad sighed, like I was an errant child. "We've contributed in other ways. We bought your couch, the washer-dryer, the new HVAC unit." He pointed at the corner, where my ratty love seat sagged. "Consider this even, and a fresh start for you." My breath hitched. Mara looked up, shining. "You can finally live in the city, Lauren. No more commute." She didn't notice my eyes narrowing. I swallowed, forcing a polite smile. "Thanks," I said, but the word felt bitter. They passed rolls around the table. I picked one up, tore it in half. My hands shook. That night, I drove home in a haze. The suburbs glowed orange under street lamps. Everything familiar and wrong. In my apartment, I flicked on every light, pacing through the rooms, living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. Each one felt rented, borrowed, not mine. I sank onto the couch and let the tears come. A knock at the door jolted me. I wiped my eyes and opened it to find a man, mid-30s, scruffy beard, eyes the color of storm clouds. He held a canvas bag. "Hi," he said, voice polite but cautious. "I'm Trevor. I'm the new owner's maintenance guy. Your parents said to let me in to check the HVAC filter and the water heater pilot." I stared. New owner? The phrase felt like acid in my mouth. They'd transferred the deed. They'd already sold me out, signed it over. He nodded sympathetically. "Yeah, sorry, miss. Mara asked me to swing by today. If that's okay?" My jaw tightened. You have permission to enter." I swallowed. "Okay." I stepped aside. He entered, eyes scanning the apartment. "I'll be quick, just routine checks." He unpacked tools and a flashlight from the bag. I closed the door and leaned against it. The hallway light flickered. My fantasies churned. I could call my lawyer, contest the deed transfer. I could sleep on friends' couches, fight my parents, but instead, I leaned against the door frame and watched him work. He crouched by the water heater, his headlamp illuminating rust on the tank. "This thing needs a flush," he muttered. "Never seen this much sediment." He looked up, suddenly kind. "Tell your parents to budget for a flush. Water's hard here." His words stung. I realized I'd been so fixated on their betrayal. I'd forgotten I still cared about this apartment, about the roof over my head. He moved to the furnace, crouched again, then stood. "Everything else seems fine," he said. "You're good for another year." I nodded. "Thanks." He packed up, then as he headed for the door, he paused and turned. "Hey, you okay? I've seen people lose place to hard luck. I know it's tough." I stiffened. "I'm fine." He studied me, sympathy softening his features. Then he offered a small smile. If you ever need a second opinion on the furnace, or just a coffee, I know a place down the street that's open 24 hours. He slipped his business card into my hand. Keep it. He walked off down the hallway, leaving me alone with the scent of oil and sadness. I sank onto the couch again, phone card in hand. The city felt colder. That night, I lay awake, thinking through the knock at the door. I could levy every legal argument in my binder, hire a lawyer, force my parents to a judge, or I could do something more radical, something that would force them to see what they'd done. By dawn, I knew what I had to do. At 8 a.m., I found a stranger, a postgraduate student I'd met at a coffee shop, studying behaviors of transients, and offered him my keys for the weekend. "Come in," I said, voice calm. "I'm letting you crash here. I need to step away." He looked at me, puzzled, then shrugged and nodded, understanding without explanation. By 9, he'd moved in bed, made on the couch, books stacked. I handed him the card. "I'll pay you for checking the place. Utilities, cleaning, anything." He grinned. "Sure, I'll water your plants too. Good roommate gig." I drove to the city, nursed coffee with Trevor, and told him I'd rent a co-working desk downtown. I needed distance from betrayal. Later that afternoon, my parents texted, "Please call us." I drove to my sister's condo, Mara's shiny new place, and sat on her gold couch. She opened the door in a silk blouse, wide-eyed. "They told me you gave a stranger your keys." I nodded, not looking at her. "I'm in transition. I needed someone to watch the cat." I watched her uncertainty flood her face. "We thought it'd be temporary," she said, voice small. "We didn't realize how much this apartment meant to you." I pressed my lips together. It meant everything. I spun the key on my finger. "So right now, someone else holds it. Let's see how that feels." She swallowed. She looked devastated. "I never wanted to hurt you." I stood back to her. "Good." I left her condo key in my pocket and walked into the city's blur. That night, I sat in a 24-hour cafe, tapping this story into my laptop. My fingers paused as the stranger, now my caretaker named Joey, emailed me. "Watered the plants. Cat's asleep. Place is cozy." I smiled. I realized my parents, Mara, everyone would feel the absence long before I did. The apartment was the nexus of my independence. By handing its control to a stranger, I'd reclaimed power and forced them to reckon with the void their gift had created. I closed the laptop, pocketed the car key. Tomorrow I'd see if they'd come knocking, apologizing, begging for keys, and I'd decide whether to open my door, not because I had to, but because I chose to. In that choice lay my truest home. I spent all of Saturday camped out at that 24-hour cafe on Main and 5th, nursing 2 coffees, 3 scones, and a slowly widening calm. As the morning blur of commuters gave way to the lunch crowd, I realized I hadn't checked my phone in hours. No calls from Dad, no pleading texts from Mom, no worried messages from Mara. It was both liberating and unnerving. I finally opened it around 2 p.m. to find 3 new messages. "Can we talk? Mom, call me ASAP. Dad, I want to apologize. Let me know when you're free. Mara." My thumb hovered over Mom's text. Should I respond? Part of me reveled in their silence. Another part ached at the possibility of reconciliation. I typed back, "I'm free at 5 tonight. Let's meet at the cafe on Oak Street." Then I turned my attention to the stranger Joey, who'd been emailing updates sporadically. I scribbled a quick note. "Hey Joey, thanks again for covering things. Could you water again tomorrow morning? The fern by the window really needs it. I owe you coffee." I hit send, stowed my laptop, and walked back to the apartment, strange feelings swirling. As I neared the building, I saw my parents pacing on the sidewalk, expressions a mix of regret and relief. Dad's shoulders stooped. Mom's purse strap had frayed from clutching her arm. I paused on the stoop, took a breath, and braced. Then I stepped inside. They looked at me, startled. My keys were still in my hand. I held them up. "Here," I said softly. Dad's jaw clenched. "Lauren," I cut him off. "Please, just come inside." They followed me up the stairs in uneasy silence. Inside, the apartment was tidy. Books lined up on the shelves, the fern flourishing, the couch plumped. I chose to believe that Joey had done more than water a plant. He'd respected my space. Mom sat at the kitchen table, folded hands in her lap. Dad hung back by the doorway, arms crossed. Mom's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry. We were cruel. You moved in here to build your life, and we treated your home like a sandbox. I perched on the arm of a chair, keys still in hand. It felt like you'd erased me, like my independence wasn't worth more than a weekend project. My voice shook. I love you both, but I needed to feel that my choices mattered. Dad stepped forward. His eyes glistened. It was wrong. We were scared about the house payments, the market collapse, our future. Instead of talking to you, we made a reckless decision. Mom nodded. We should have asked, not gifted. We never meant to take your home away. I folded my keys and set them on the table. Thank you for that. But you need to understand, a home is more than a deed. It's a sanctuary. When you tried to give it to Mara, you threatened that sanctuary. Mom reached for my hand. Will you come back home for dinner tomorrow? We'll cook your favorites. We want to show we trust you. I considered the keys, the space behind me that was mine. I will, I said. But not if you try to fix everything with gestures. I need us to set clear boundaries. Dad exhaled. Agreed. No more decisions about your life without your input. Relief bloomed in my chest. Deal. That evening, Mara called. We met at a small Thai place near her condo, her new key still unused. She looked thinner, the glow from my parents' kitchen yet to fill her. She slid into the booth, hot tea in hand. I'm sorry, she said, voice small. I never should have let them do that. I was caught up in my excitement. I sipped my soup. You didn't know. They sprung it on me. She looked down, shoulders trembling. I hate that I hurt you. I reached across. Just promise me you won't move in on someone else's dream again. She gave me a watery smile. I promise. We ordered mango sticky rice, reminisced about scraped knees and childhood forts. By the time we parted, Mara's cheeks were rosy, ours a sister-to-sister truce. Sunday morning, I escorted Mom and Dad back to my apartment, this time as honored guests, not stealthy inheritors. We brewed coffee together, the faint hiss of the espresso machine filling the home I'd fought to keep. We shuffled through photo albums, my college graduation, family vacations, the day I moved in. There was laughter, even tears, no mention of keys or cancellations, just stories. Later, they helped unpack the groceries I'd stocked for a welcome-back brunch, avocado toast fixings, fresh berries, eggs. Dad wiped down the countertops. Mom set the table with mismatched plates I'd collected at thrift stores. It felt like reclaiming pieced together fragments of trust. Over brunch, I broached future plans. I'm thinking of painting the hallway a lighter shade, maybe pastel gray, and I'm going to host a quarterly game night for neighbors. Mom beamed. We'd love to help, maybe host Easter dinner here. I nodded. I'd like that. Dad smiled. Just remind me to ask you first. We all laughed. That afternoon, I returned to my laptop. The email from Joey popped up. Enjoyed watching you unpack. Great brunch smells. I'll swing by Tuesday to check the boilers. I typed back. Thanks, Joey. You're a lifesaver. Coffee on me whenever you need it. As the city hummed outside my windows, cars buzzing, children laughing, my sanctuary felt intact. The keys remained on the table, a symbol of my autonomy, but also of renewed connection. Because a home isn't just about walls and locks, it's about who you let in and how you build trust. Later that night, as I closed the curtains and flicked off the lights, I realized my 35th year would be defined not by the deed my parents signed, but by the door I chose to open, first to the stranger who respected it, then to the family who earned its welcome. And tomorrow, when I wake, I'll unlock it again, on my own terms.